Today, we're going to talk about the transcendental aspect of calm, lust, or attraction. Our spiritual teachers state that in this world, everything that is animate is under the influence of calm. From an insect to the greatest leader of an advanced civilization, the force of calm keeps everyone trapped on what the Gita describes to be the machine of material nature. Calm or lust manifests in its most gross form as sex life. Without sex life, there would be no cycle of birth and death. There would be no embodied souls moving from one species of life to another in this world. The very cycle of birth and death would halt. That's why it is said that for the transcendentalist, if you can curb or subliminate the sexual appetite, engaging it in the transcendental path, then you will be able to escape the cycle of birth and death. You will get liberation from samsara. The scriptures state that the pleasurable aspect of sex life is arranged by the absolute truth so that it counteracts the pain of childbirth and raising the child. So we see many spiritualists and transcendentalists who try to completely subdue any kind of calm without reconciling or integrating and understanding that it has a transcendental counterpart. So if you're negating your lower existence, meaning you're trying to cancel out this part of your nature without awakening a transcendental calm or desire and engagement, then you're more or less bound to failure. You're not going to succeed. In the Gaudiya Vaishnava path, we have a very clear understanding of the transcendental nature of spiritual calm. The Chaitanya Charitamrita teaches that material lust is like the deepest darkness, and the gopis, the cowherd maidens of Braj, they have transcendental lust and calm, meaning love, but it's pure and spotlessly pure like and effulgent like rays of the sun. There's such a disparity or difference between them. One is like the effulgence of the sun and one is like darkness. So we see the point is there that there is a transcendental side of calm that we need to understand if we want to fully grow spiritually. Calm exists in its most elevated transcendental state as the interplay of the desire to please the beloved Sri Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, the all-attractive, that is the meaning of Krishna. Calm, in the spiritual sense, it means the desire to please the beloved Sri Krishna through all one's body, mind, soul, through all one's, whatever one possesses. That's why the gopis, they're able to serve Krishna in the fullest extent, whereas other devotees cannot serve Krishna in that fullest extent. So the topmost state of that transcendental calm and service and love and relation with Krishna is in the gopis. And the very fountainhead of that is Swarup Shakti Srimati Radhika. She is the feminine counterpart of that absolute truth, Sri Krishna. She's inseparable from him. Just as we see heat and light is inseparable from fire, in the same way, Srimati Radhika, she is the feminine counterpart of Krishna and she is inseparable from him. The gopis, who are the gopis? They are the kaya vyuha, meaning the expansions from Srimati Radhika's own transcendental form. They facilitate or enhance the sweetness of the parakiya ras pastimes of Krishna and Srimati Radhika. Radha Krishna are called the divine moieties, meaning they're the divine couple who are inseparable. But they're one absolute truth, advaya gyan paratattva. You can take the example of a chickpea that has thin skin, but if you remove that skin, you'll see there's two halves that are equal and connected. So in this way, Shakti, Matora, Bedha, the potent and the potency are inseparable. They are ultimately one, but they divide and appear in two beings to relish sweet pastimes. So if we align our desire in relation to Sri Radha and Krishna in the transcendental state, then this is transcendental alignment of calm. And we don't want to do it as a competitor to Sri Radha, because We are Shakti Parinambad. Mahaprabhu teaches that the soul is a transformation of the potency of the Lord. So our relation with Krishna, the ultimate beloved, is via the medium of Srimati Radhika and her service. By her desire, there is interaction with the jiva and Krishna, but the fulfillment of the jiva in its topmost sense is via the medium of relationship and service to Srimati Radhika. Because we ourselves, we are transformations of the divine potency, and we are therefore attracted to the potent, Sri Krishna. This magnetic attraction is, when it's in its perverted state, it's reflected as material lust in this world. And when it's in its pure state, it's when we're connected to the transcendental powerhouse of divine love, Srimati Radhika, and through her in a relationship with Sri Radha Krishna together. So service to Sri Radhika herself, that's the pathway to attain the ultimate, you can say, evolution of our conscious potential, our achieving the highest level of our spiritual state. And without service to Srimati Radhika, it is extremely difficult, nigh impossible, to conquer that sway of material lust. Even great sages fall prey to that. Even at the end of our lives, when we're on our deathbed, lust remains. There's a story of a king who was asking one of his ministers, how can I or one be free of calm lust? The minister said, oh, it is very difficult. It's practically impossible. Even in old age, on the deathbed, one will feel lust. Even at the last stage, one is under the influence of calm. How is that possible, the king said? Even when one is about to die, on the doorway of death, you're saying they're still under the influence of lust? Yes, the minister said. Demonstrate this to me, otherwise I will punish you, the king said. He didn't believe it. So the minister said, okay, you have an old general. He's very old now. He's on his deathbed. He's going to die in a few days. So you should go and visit him. Let's go together and visit him. However, on one condition, I want to demonstrate my point to you in a practical way. So you should bring your very beautiful daughter, who is now youthful Kishori, teenager, and you should dress her in a very beautiful sari, in a very beautiful way, and she can come with some of her Kishori friends, and they will stand on one side of the bed, and you will stand with me on the other side and speak with the general. So the king agreed, and the daughter and some of her friends, they nicely decorated themselves, and all together they went with the minister and the king and some of the other ministers to the general. So the king began to speak with the general, and he noticed that while the general welcomed him at first, he was very distracted by the beautiful daughter. Again and again, the king noticed his eyes were going to her beautiful figure and form, or beautiful face, figure, form, and face. The ministers and the king were seeing that this general could not hold the attention to the king. The king was seeing, he was talking to him, and he was absent-minded by the beauty of his daughter. So when they returned to the palace, the king accepted the point that the minister had made, that yes, I see, even when one is upon death's bed, lust remains within the subtle body or in the gross body. Krishna says in the Gita that calm is throughout the body and mind. So how do we transcend that? By the process of bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga means the yoga of union through devotion. So when we follow this bhakti yoga process, we'll completely fulfilled. And unless we fulfill that aspect of our nature, which is calm, which is latent within the very essence of the soul, desire, in the spiritual sense, it's a very wonderful thing. Without desire, we would be void. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam, Vikriditam vrajavadubiridam cha vishnu shradhan vito anasuyad arati bhakting parang bhagavati pradilabhya kamam hridrogam asu apinoti achirena dira. Parikshit Maharaj, the king, who himself was going to die soon, he said, now I'm going to die soon. Why are you speaking to me about the gopis dancing with Krishna? They're the wives of other men. This is immoral. He was going to die, Parikshit, and he said, oh, I want to hear something that will help me be liberated. So Sukadeva Goswami, this is the medicine. Hearing about the gopis' pastimes with Krishna and the Ras, this is the medicine for your material condition. The gopis are Krishna's divine counterparts, expansions of Srimati Radhika, and therefore they are his eternal consorts. And this is parakya ras, to enhance the sweetness of their pastimes. It appears like they are in other relationships, because this is the highest state. What is seen to be very low and degraded in this world is the perverted affection of that topmost thing in the spiritual world. So, when we awaken greed for that, by hearing about it from those personalities who are free of material desire, we hear about these pastimes from people like Sukadeva Goswami, who are free of material lust. Otherwise, it will increase our lust if we hear from material people. But we hear from transcendental personalities, then this hridrogam is destroyed. The disease of the heart is destroyed when transcendental bhakti awakens. First, bhakti awakens, then lust is destroyed. So there is a transcendental counterpart to that thing that is seen as gross and material. In personalists, they give the example, like you may be walking at night and see a rope and be afraid and think it's a snake and you jump. But then you see later it's just a rope. Or you see a mirage in the desert, you're thirsty and you see some water in the distance and you run to reach it and you find just sand. But the complete analogy would show that you're only seeing the mirage or the appearance of the snake in the rope because there is an actual thing as the snake, or there is an actual thing as the water source. So that shows that the material thing, it is the perverted reflection of the transcendental counterpart. And in that state, it's completely pure and free of any material selfish desires. So material relation and lust is the low thing, but there is the transcendental very high thing. And if you become engaged in that divine loving service through bhakti, then naturally the lower side will be subdued, it will dissipate. Krishna says in the Gita, param drisva nivartate. When you develop a higher taste, naturally the lower taste will go away. Thank you for your time. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mohana Madhava Kesava Madhusudana Vanamali.